Live and action on another
Welcome
second
back.
second show of the semester. A week from now, I was just looking ahead. At this point, we'll be done with work. It'll be Thanksgiving
Oh
break.
my goodness, I can't wait for the Thanksgiving turkey.
Oh my gosh, that's gonna be very nice. And uh, with that, it'll be the last week of college football regular season. NFL Thanksgiving is always fun, and college basketball Thanksgiving, we got some nice tournaments. Some actually this week as well, so we'll get into those. But real quick, let's I guess jump into NFL first. With that being kind of the most relevant in the news today. What did you see kind of this week? I first actually you were at an NFL game. I want to hear about that. Jets Bills, not the best one in terms of proximity with the score, but had to be a cool experience.
Yeah, I love going to the Jets game, courtesy of my dad. Nice father-son bonding experience, but the outcome was not as we hoped. I was rooting for the Jets in this one, despite my Patriots fandom. Uh, I wanted the Jets to close this one out, so perhaps the Patriots could get an edge on the Bills for the division, but that surely was not the case. Buffalo, whose fans were loud and passionate, put up 45 points on the New York Jets, who scored 17, which were mostly in garbage time. Um, I'd say it was a little depressing to see Mike White's demise after a hot start. Perhaps he was another Tom Brady in the making, but that does not seem to be the case with his four interceptions, um, poor completion percentage. But
Good day for Zach Wilson.
yeah, that
I
and
mean,
his agent. Yeah,
yes, exactly.
I'm sure he'll be starting next week, and I have hope for him. But it was really cool to see Josh Allen, who I know you're not too high on,
No,
but he
but
showed out.
it always happens. I
Yeah,
I bash him, and then next week, boom, he goes off. So Josh Allen's going to win MVP. We'll see how he does this coming week against the Colts. So
yeah, great experience. Really cool to see Stephon Diggs torch the Jets corners. One of my favorite players in the league, and because of so many Jets fans that departed early from the game, my dad and I got to go down from the second level to the almost the first row for the fourth
wow.
quarter, which was really cool. We saw the two Jets touchdowns up close in garbage time, and some Josh Allen to Diggs down the field plays. So that was really cool.
Well, you touched on one of my worst takes, just in terms of this week, I guess. Josh Allen obviously went off, and I was a known Josh Allen, not the biggest fan, obviously. I also said that Lamar Jackson should win MVP this year, and he had statistically his one of his worst NFL games, the worst offensive Ravens game that they've had with him. I believe it was his 44th start, something like that. Could be less, but anyways, it was a bad game for them. But this was the ultimate trap game for the not trap game, but ultimate letdown spot for the Ravens. Short week. They just had an emotional overtime game-winning kick against the Vikings. And the Dolphins are ultra motivated because Lamar just hung 51 on Brian Flores in one of his first games as a head coach. So obviously he wanted to shut the Ravens down, and that's exactly what he did. So I guess that wouldn't be a shock to me. I'd say the biggest shock of this past week, week 10 in the NFL, was the Pats. I mean, good
Look at
God.
us, Mac Jones.
Holy cow. I mean, we talk about in football, you kind of have your first 15 plays scripted. And it seemed like the Browns' first 15 plays or so, obviously they were on track. I believe they scored in their first possession and then 45 unanswered by the Pats. I mean, what did you think about Mac's performance and rookie of the year, offensive rookie of the year, perhaps?
Yeah, I was bashing on Mac a little bit, not in terms of his play, but in terms of his kind of appeal as a fan. I certainly didn't deny his promise as a young player, and he surely showed out. 19 of 23, 200 yards, 3 tutties, no picks. The Patriots looked really good, and this shows Belichick's back. Patriots win, Bucks loss. Maybe stirring up the pot a bit. And I think I'm convinced that if you put me behind the Browns offensive line, I could get 100 yards. They have third string Dearness Johnson putting up 100 yards, 5.5 yards a carry. But I'm impressed. And the Patriots have the Falcons next week, which fingers crossed should be a win. But I feel like that could be another surprise. We had a lot of upsets this weekend, and we can get into that in a bit.
Yeah, and we'll get to that. But with this short week with the Falcons, I don't know how they'll respond, because they obviously got their doors blown off by the Cowboys, something that we both kind of foresaw after an ultra motivated Cowboys squad when they lost to the Broncos. But another surprise, and speaking of the upsets, was Washington over the Bucks. And they kind of led the whole way. I mean, up 6-0 at the end of the first quarter, up 16-6 at half, and ultimately won 29-19. I think this is kind of evidenced by sometimes you just, not that the Washington football team has the Bucks number, because the Bucks obviously eliminated them from the playoffs last year, but it was a close game, and we saw Taylor Heineke kind of ball out. In a way, that game was him playing for a contract, and now he's starting for Washington and played pretty well, 26 of 32, 256, and a touchdown. So if you think about it, I guess Riverboat Ron has a scheme for dealing with the Bucks, and this was a Bucks team that was coming off a win or another loss against the Saints, I guess, in their last time out.
Previous to the bye, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I thought they'd come off the bye and play pretty well, but I guess not. And now the schedule for the Bucks, in terms of, so now the big thing with the NFC is who's going to get the bye, or who's going to get the byes, and how that'll all shape up. And I guess that leads into the Rams game. Speaking of which, I guess we never talked about OBJ signing, because that took place on Friday. What were your initial thoughts on that? And then maybe what were your thoughts on the Monday night game last night?
Yeah, OBJ to the Rams is a cool storyline. He got him a quarterback that hopefully will throw him the ball. He didn't play much last night, and I thought that was honestly a mistake, especially given how much they were down. I feel like that's a chance for OBJ to get used to the scheme in Los Angeles. I understand him coming in, kind of watching from the sideline. He's only been there a couple days, but I would throw him in, especially given Woods' ACL tear, which hurts for my fantasy team. But the 49ers are so inconsistent. I like watching the 49ers a lot. I think it's really cool to see their run game develop from so many different spots. You have Debo, who's a breakout receiver, taking snaps in the I formation. Kittle was kind of emerging after coming off the IR.
Yep.
And Jimmy played amazing last night. And this caught me off guard. I named the Rams last week as in the Super Bowl and against the Bills. That was my pick. And I still think they have a shot to get there, but this is a little bit of a red flag and a wake-up call for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you think about it, I believe now, if the playoffs ended today, the Rams would have road games against the Bucks, the Packers, and either the Cardinals or the Cowboys, most likely, in 3 road games. So that's why these games, two bad weeks, which the Rams have now had back-to-back, it don't put you in the best spot. And now they go into a bye this week, but then afterwards you got at the Packers. Potentially, I mean, they probably won't be favored in that game. Jags at home will be over a touchdown favorite, you have to assume. At Cardinals,
that'll be a good game. That could be the division.
Mm-hmm. And then Seahawks at home, and that's a sandwich with at Vikings and at Ravens. So right after that, they've got a couple tough road games left, obviously, and then they've got the 49ers at home to end the season. So if you think about it, the Bucks really aren't, or the Rams, I should say, really aren't in the driver's seat anymore, like they potentially were after beating the Bucks. It seemed like, oh, this team, they were 3-0 at that point. This team with Stafford could be the contenders of the NFC team to beat. And now, kind of, it's funny how fast things turn. I mean, the Cowboys last week lost, or 2 weeks ago, I should say, to the Broncos, and then they dominated the Falcons. So it's like, oh, the Cowboys are good again. So we'll see how that plays out. Those were really the biggest surprises to me in terms of the week at large. Couple, I guess, Cam coming back and scoring
cool.
2 touchdowns.
You see the quote, he was asked post-game how much of the playbook he knew, and he said 2 touchdowns worth.
And now I love how Matt Rule is being so open with, we're going to start him if he learns the playbook and he feels comfortable.
I think he'll start next week.
Yeah.
I think he said that he'll be with the first team
Mm-hmm.
most of this week. And he's a really good coach, Matt Rule.
I agree. I think that oftentimes we don't see the college to NFL translate great. Ask Urban Meyer, but that's a whole different issue. But Matt Rule's been fantastic. And this Panthers team, I mean, sitting at 5-5, not too shabby. They could work their way into the wild card. I don't think anyone expects them to win a playoff game, but now McCaffrey back, they've got weapons. So we'll see. We'll see.
Those Cowboys looked real good. You called it.
Yes.
A Dak elite, and Tony Pollard got a fair share of the carries. Something to watch. I know it was a blowout, but I bet you he's been more efficient with the ball in his hand than Zeke this season.
That's the thing. He's always, I mean, Zeke's been banged up last couple of years, and Pollard we've seen get some carries, but he always seems to be effective. And that kind of speaks to how in the NFL you got running backs. It's a position, again, where you can kind of I think this is well known at this point. It's very replaceable in terms of your running backs. And as long as you can catch out of the backfield and you can run, you're going to be a good back in this league. And I think we're seeing BC's own A.J. Dillon now will step into the first team role with the Packers, with Aaron Jones being hurt. And he has shown the capability to catch out of the backfield, and another back, second back that we've seen have success. So yeah, Pollard, good story. And one last thing before we shift into this coming week in the NFL, Seahawks getting shut out was a disappointment for me, because not great. I mean, tough conditions, obviously, but the Seahawks are used to playing in rain every single game. Like it's a classic Lambeau game in the snow, but you got to do something. And then Chiefs dominating. Looks like Chiefs might be back. Their defense has played better the last couple of weeks, and obviously they held this Raiders team to 14 points and just dominating fashion in prime time, seemingly showing we're the Chiefs and why we're not going anywhere. So props to them.
And we've been acting like the Chiefs have been 2-8 or something. They're 6-4, division lead. They're as good of a chance as anyone in the AFC to make it to the Super Bowl, honestly. I think the AFC is wide open. And Mahomes, 5 touchdowns, 400-plus yards. Kelsey looked himself. Tyreek looked himself. I think they're back. And I was a little bit of a doubter, but I would not be surprised to see them win the Super Bowl once again.
Yeah, I mean, certainly if they continue with the defense was a big storyline early in the season, and now with them playing well on that side of the ball, obviously Pat Mahomes is Pat Mahomes and Super Bowl champion. There's a reason he has the contract he has. So we'll see. I think the Chiefs certainly, I mean, this week is huge. Chiefs Cowboys will be a huge storyline. And It looks like Vegas has Chiefs as 2.5-point favorites at home, which means neutral site. These teams are about even, so that should tell us a little something. The 4 o'clock window, usually you got probably one or two good games. This week we got Cardinals at Seahawks, which do we still believe in the Seahawks? I don't know. Cardinals favored by 2.5 in that one. Obviously, Cowboys Chiefs I just mentioned, and Bengals at Raiders. The NFC or AFC North, I should say, is wide open. So we will see about that in terms of if the Bengals can capitalize this Raiders team. That's a tough. I mean, this game against the Chiefs was their game of the season. To get blown out like that, I don't know how you respond. So, is there any other games that you're kind of keeping your eye on? I guess Ron Rivera against the Panthers is a storyline, certainly. But any other games maybe catch your eye in terms of looking ahead?
I think Dallas, Kansas City is going to be really fun. A lot of points on the board in that one potentially. I'd like to see Seattle do something against Arizona. I still don't buy Arizona being the real deal, and I'm rooting for Russ. Although I'm a little discouraged by that performance at Lambeau.
He was quite limited. He was not unlimited. He was he struggled, but I mean, yeah, the Packers defense. Speaking of which, been fantastic.
Even with all the injuries too.
I mean, the last
Jair's out for
yep. So limited Mahomes, and now that performance against Russ. So certainly a storyline. I'd say, well, first off, I before we shift completely, we got to do our picks. What did we decide upon last week? Were we going to do every single game, or again pick 2 or 3 that we liked?
I think we talked about last time having one pick each week, but
okay.
I do like the idea of doing every game, but
maybe 3.
3, yeah.
3
locks of the week.
Yeah, 3 locks.
And
of the
we're doing spreads?
We're doing spreads.
Okay.
Yep. And while we kind of think about this, could you give us a little fantasy update in terms of your leagues? We talked a little bit about off air. Sounded like you were close to a win, didn't quite get it, and that was obviously one of your leagues. You're in a couple. So what was the fantasy recap?
So I went 2-1 in the leagues that matter. I have one that does not matter. And except the loss was tragic. It came down to it last night. I lost by 3.5 points. And I had Darrell Henderson, the Rams D, and my opponent had Kittle, Ayuk. Just Kittle and Cup. And
Cup's been money again.
Dominant. I had a 90% chance to win. Henderson really didn't do anything. There were a couple plays I watched the fourth quarter because with the kid I was playing, which was fun, but at least for him.
Yeah, for him.
And there were a couple plays when Michelle was in, and they dumped it off to Michelle a couple times instead of Henderson, and I would have won if Henderson was in right there. And in the fourth, they really didn't have a shot to win the whole time, and they passed the ball every time. And you would think to switch it up a little bit, kind of catch the defense off guard, but they refused to run the ball. And every pass went to Cup, and that shattered my dreams. I'm 4-6 now in that league. It's getting a little scary, and that's the stand-up comedy league. But there is someone who is 3-7 whose team is quite poor. But I have Aaron Jones. He's out with an MCL sprain. I have Calvin Ridley, he's out.
Yeah.
I have AB, you never know when he'll be on the field. And I had Robert Woods. So I'm decimated right now. My RB2 play this week is going to be tough. I'm going to be starting Corey Davis at flex. Hopefully he shows out.
All right. I'm starting Corey Davis in an 8-person league. So
yeah. No, this is
That
a
is,
person.
I guess
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is a
I
person
like
too.
Corey Davis a lot. My
Yeah.
dad will attest. He's a monster. Hopefully Zach Wilson can feed him the ball. And then in the other two, I have I am 6-4-1. I put up more points in my 20-man league than I did in my 8-man league. So half PPR, I might add. I have AJ Dillon, so that's good.
You must have.
He's my
absolutely gone
RB1
off.
even before this week, which
Yeah.
is a little sad. But now he'll be a real RB1. And then in the other league, I'm making a run at the championship. My team is stacked. I have sole possession of the league, 7-3. I have a couple key buys this week, including Cup. But I'm out for the crown in that one. How'd your fantasy go this week?
So I actually had good fortunes on Monday night. I was up by 30, and my opponent had Stafford and OBJ. So I didn't expect. OBJ was projected 10. Stafford was projected like 21. So I was projected to lose in a tight one, and I didn't expect OBJ to get 10. I thought Stafford could throw for a couple touchdowns, but two early interceptions, and I was feeling pretty good about myself. So now I sit at 5-5. I also ranked in the top 4 scoring.
Oh, that's big for you.
So I got 2 wins this week. I was the 4th out of the top 4. So if I lost my game, it would have been 2 losses. And the guy I was playing was in 7th. So say he beats me, then I fall even further into the gutter. But I mean, wins head to head have got to mean something, right? The college football playoff. That's what the critique of the college football playoff is. And I will critique our commissioner if my head to head wins against this guy don't matter. So hopefully it does. Big week this week. If I can get the train rolling on the tracks, I picked up Chris Carson. Hopefully he makes an appearance off the IR, but we'll see in this coming week. So let's take a look at
just a little fun fact about fantasy I'd like to add. I remembered in the league that I am making a run at the championship. I am on a 6-game win streak, knock on wood. I started off 1-3.
Holy cow.
And we're hooping.
Yeah.
We got it. All right. Back to the spreads this week. You got it first, Dom. We'll do our 3 locks.
Yeah, I'm going I'll go Eagles -1.5. Eagles coming off a great road win, kind of dominating fashion almost over the Broncos. And we've kind of seen the Eagles have been up and down this season. They haven't really beat any good teams. And fortunately, I don't think a Trevor Siemian-led Saints team is a good team. And so Saints, 2 straight losses. I think they'll be ultra focused, but I can sense that maybe this NFC South is slipping from their grasps. Obviously, the Bucs have always been good, but without Jameis, I don't know how this locker room feels right now. I mean, you lose your starting quarterback, that's always tough, and now they do it in a loss too. If you lose your starting quarterback and lose the game, which they did against the Falcons, and then obviously last week at Tennessee is tough. But 2 straight road games for the Saints, and the Eagles maybe starting to turn the corner. I think they've always been decent this season. They're kind of middle of the pack, definition of a mediocre squad, and I think they get it done by a field goal this week against the Saints.
I like that. All right. I guess we'll go 1 for 1. I'm rocking with a big double-digit dog in the Giants this week in Tampa Bay. I think Monday night game. So it'll be fresh. I'm rocking with the Giants. I think that Danny Dimes, it's time to show out. I think he's a solid quarterback, great talent. His reads need a little work, his decision-making, but last year there was a classic in prime time. Giants Bucks, and the Giants covered handily, almost won.
That's what I was going to bring up.
So I'm riding with them. Saquon is rumored to be back, and maybe it's a little bump in the road coming off the bye for the Bucks. They lost this week to the football team who seem to have their number. So I'm rolling with the Giants.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. And off a bye, like you said. So prime time, Danny Dimes. Let's see what he's got. One of his first win in Tampa Bay. Maybe I've got to do research on that. I'm going to stick with the prime time and go Chargers -5 against the Steelers. I believe that Mason Rudolph is projected to start this game for the Steelers. Big Ben, Mason Rudolph, what difference does that make? If Big Ben starts and the spread lessens to 3.5, I don't know the value Big Ben at. I mean, obviously it's an upgrade from Mason Rudolph, but not much. I mean, Big Ben's old and doesn't move great. Chargers, Justin Herbert had one of his worst games of his career, of his young career. So it wasn't atrocious, but this past week against a Vikings team that I think is better than people realize. But now they return prime time. And again, I think maybe there's a sense of urgency with the Chargers, being that the Chiefs just outplayed the Raiders handily in prime time last week, and kind of a sense to win now mode. And I think the Chargers get it done. I think this game could get away from the Steelers. I mean, they just tied with the Lions, and I think it was kind of a demoralizing tie. It looked like they had a win, fumble while they were in field goal range, which led to the tie. So maybe not a great vibe in the locker room right now for the Steelers. So I'm going Chargers -5.
Okay, noted. Speaking of the Lions, I'm going with Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions.
Let's go. First win outright,
on the road? No, not
okay.
But I mean, that would work. But +10, I'm a big fan of the double-digit dogs, as I am with the Giants. I think that this is the Lions' chance, coming off a tie, as you mentioned, that hopefully will build some momentum for them. They are 5-4 against the spread, and the Browns look lost right now. Baker is hurt. He's struggling. And I think that this Lions team has some offensive firepower. The Browns defense looked brutal against the Patriots last week. You've got Hawkinson, who's a top 5 tight end, DeAndre Swift, emerging young back. Defense has not been great for the Lions, but they're about to win at some point, or at least come close to it. So I think they're due some good luck their way. So book it, Lions +10.
All right. I'm kind of in between on this third pick. And yes, this is extremely biased, but I'm going the Colts +7. If you can get a hook with this, 7.5, I really like it. 7, I like. And here's why. Colts, I think they didn't play well this past week. Kind of it looked like they were gonna have a convincing win against the Jags and kind of let the Jags stick around a little. I think perhaps they were looking ahead at this game, and it's ultimate redemption game for the Colts. Last season, they had multiple opportunities against the Bills in the playoffs to win in Buffalo. They didn't get it done. And historically, the Colts always win a game where it's like, wow, the Colts won this game? Like, how did this happen? It looked like it was going to happen when they were playing in Baltimore on Monday night when they blew that game. I guess you could say the win at the 49ers could categorize as the Colts game. Like, wow, the Colts won this game of the year. I got to call that something. Maybe the Colts surprise. It's not a shocker, but it's a surprise. They always have a surprise. One at Lambeau a couple of years ago. Like, it's just bound to happen. And I think I'm worried because they got the Bucks at home after this. So the schedule the next 2 games isn't great. But I think you go into Buffalo, Bills they looked great. I mean, you saw them firsthand. They looked very good. Then again, that was after losing to the Jags. So again, you get an ultra focused Bills team, but I got the Colts to cover 7.5. I don't know if it's an outright win. It could be. So if you're feeling risque, fire that up. But Colts are my underdog this week.
I like that pick. I'm a fan of the dogs, but I'm going with the favorite here. I'm going with the Niners over the Jags. I think the line is 6.5. They looked real good against the Rams. Maybe this is some recency bias, but I think that although the Jaguars have looked a little better in recent weeks, the Niners, their offense is looking really good right now. Debo and Kittle back. And the Jags rely heavy on the run game. James Robinson, they're 6th in the league in the run, but the San Francisco run defense ranks 6th as well. So I think that will serve as kind of a neutralizer to the Jags' offensive attack. Meanwhile, the 49ers pass D has looked really good. They're allowing the 4th fewest pass yards per game. So I'm going with the Niners. I like them, and I think they could possibly compete for a wild card, maybe.
I mean, the playoff race is heating up, especially in the AFC. Well, really both, but AFC, you have a little more who's going to win this division almost, because the AFC North and AFC West are like, this could go either way. And now with the way the Pats are playing, AFC East could be in question. I think the Titans will win the AFC South, but again, I'm a Colts truther, so you never know. So there's our picks. Do you want to go real quick to college football while we're on the topic of football? Obviously, BC with a big win, and we can touch on that a little bit. Georgia Tech, I'll just mention, cool atmosphere. Not a lot of people in the stands. It wasn't empty, but it wasn't full. There was enough people to make a sound. Like it got louder than I expected. And cool stadium, but obviously nice. And quarterback Phil Dracovic played really well, so getting him going is nice. And now we roll into FSU with a little more momentum and officially bowl eligible. So I don't know if you've seen any of the bowl tie-ins for BC with the ACC bowl tie-ins, I should say. But is there any bowl game that you're got your eye on, or anything, any comment on this BC football game? I know you went home this week. Not sure if you had the chance to watch it, but any takeaways from the BC football season?
Yeah, I mean, it's good to have Phil back. Phil and Zay are firing on all cylinders. I did not have the time to watch the game. I was very busy writing a business law paper all day Saturday. But
students first. We don't get paid for this.
Well, Garwo established the run game. I saw over 100 on the ground, keeping up his strong season. Zay 2 touchdowns on only just as many catches, and this was a big win. I know it was tight. A lot of points scored in this one, and I'm excited for FSU this weekend. Correct, right? This weekend.
Yep.
At home. So. Oh, it's a noon game. I do not like the noon games.
I love the noon games.
Oh, I bet you do. Yeah.
It's always quite the contrast between normal student who can tailgate. I obviously can't tailgate, but a noon game means I'm done with work around 6. So obviously you'd probably prefer prime time, probably?
Yeah, the night games are fun.
Which the night games are, lots of energy. And our game, I don't know if you saw, against Wake Forest was flexed 6 days, which means we'll find out Saturday night. Kind of the situation is, if Wake loses to Clemson, they have to beat us to make the ACC championship, or they need help with other results.
Is that a game we could win, you think?
Against Wake, I do. I mean, Wake,
that would be cool.
It'll be a shootout for sure. It'll be fast-paced, and Wake is susceptible to giving up a lot of points, but then again, they score a lot of points. So, those are the football games I like. I know it's old-fashioned to love defense first, but I like the high scoring and go games. So that'll be. I think that Wake's better than Florida State, but I think both are definitely winnable. So in terms of other games to watch for this weekend, Ohio State, Michigan State is huge. I don't think it'll be that close, but it's in terms of rankings, it's big. And outside of that, we got Arkansas at Alabama, Nebraska, Wisconsin. Wisconsin's playing very well lately, so I'm excited about them against potentially. So basically, Wisconsin's got to win out, which they've got Nebraska and Minnesota left, and they'll go to the Big Ten championship where they'll play the winner of Ohio State, Michigan, I presume, because I think Ohio State gets it done against Michigan State. Vegas not too keen on Michigan State. It looks like Ohio State is 19-point favorites at home.
That's crazy. Just only two rank gap.
I know it's unreal, and Vegas really hasn't been that high on Michigan State all year. I mean, they were 2.5-point favorites at Purdue, and obviously that seemed like a big upset, like Purdue against a ranked team, beating number 3 team in the nation. And I don't want to discredit them because they obviously beat top 3 or I forget what Iowa was at the time that they beat them, but they beat Iowa and now Michigan State. So a couple top 5 wins for Purdue, but again, a field goal underdog. It's not a ginormous upset. And Michigan State earlier in the season was like a 3.5-point favorite against Nebraska at home. So really not keen on them. So I think Ohio State gets it done. Really the question now in college football has become, can a 2-loss Alabama team make the playoff? Because I think that everyone assumes we're going to get Georgia, Bama, and the way Georgia's playing, I don't know if anyone can beat them. In terms of the committee's job, I think there should be, well, committee can't root for anyone, but to make their lives easier, I think that if Bama beats Georgia in the SEC championship, that would certainly be easier for them because all of a sudden you got 2 teams with 1 loss and you just put them both in. So it's certainly a storyline to watch for in terms of that. And 2 more regular season games, which is crazy, but here we are. And next week, I think the next week's games are always fun for me because it's Thanksgiving and you got the Egg Bowl and other rivalries. But any key takeaways from college football? I think it's too early to. We've still got shows down the line where we can predict our college football playoff and champion. But any game or storyline that you've got your eye on in college football?
Well, I'm mostly focused on BC. Winning out these next 2 games would be really cool. That'd be Jerk would be undefeated as QB, would he not?
He would be.
Do you think he's gonna stay?
I don't know. Obviously, you root for him to have success at the next level, and I that's the thing. It's tough with. He looks really good right now, so. The quarterback class, I was high on Desmond Ridder, hasn't had a great season. Sam Howell was presumed to be up there, and Spencer Rattler was presumed, I believe, first QB, and now he's not even first QB on his team. Which now Oklahoma fans are chanting for him to bench him, and now they want him back with Oklahoma's loss to Baylor this week, which was significant, but I never thought Oklahoma deserved to be in the playoff. And how about Texas losing? That's not great, but yeah, I don't know. It's something that we'll find out.
Zay's pretty much gone, right? Is he?
I don't know with Zay either. I mean, obviously, I think that we see correlations with Zay and like Rondell Moore type. So I think he can certainly have success in the NFL, but whatever he decides to do, I think he'll succeed either way. I'm just glad that he was able to connect on a couple deep balls because I think he's had success getting behind the defense and we haven't really been able to hit him. But now seeing him get in the end zone was obviously good. So
should we talk about a little bit of college basketball before we close?
Yeah, let's do that before we close. I don't know if anyone witnessed it, but we just missed a thriller in the Abilene Christian. I believe my brother was keen on Abilene this evening. Shout out to Vince if you completed your winning. So Abilene again was that team that I picked last year against Texas. So I've always had a special place in their heart for them. And my brother went back to the well this evening and they hit a game tying 3 as regulation expired and then won in overtime. So
Wow.
feeling good about college basketball right now. Good mojo with that. So shout out to my brother's winnings and anyone else of legal age that might have partook in those festivities. But I think the biggest storyline now with college basketball, we get these interconference challenges. ACC Big Ten is one, and Big Ten Big East is another one. So we call this the Gavitt tip-off games, and those started last night. And the big storyline was Marquette beating Illinois. So Illinois goes down. Marquette is not very talented, but Shaka gets those guys going, and they are in your grill, fast paced, and they sped Andre Corbello up quite a bit last night. So just in terms of right now, I mean, last week when we were talking to you guys, college basketball was just tipping off, and we were in the midst of the first night, which is always exciting. But now, as we progress to Thanksgiving, we got some cool tournaments going. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the Gavitt tip-off games at all. Michigan State Butler is another game that's part of it tomorrow night, and it's going on a little right now with Seton Hall down by 8 against Michigan. Are there any, with the remaining games, any predictions or any takeaways from what you've, I don't know if you've had a chance to watch any, but kind of takeaways from the scores that you've seen?
Yeah, I have not gotten a chance to watch any college basketball this year, but one of my hopes, maybe with your help, is to get pretty into it this year before March Madness, which will inevitably draw my attention. I think I mentioned this last week a little bit, but I think my kind of wild card team I'm rooting for this year is Memphis. I think they're a really, really fun team to watch. They've got 2 potential top 10 picks on their team right now. Amoni Bates is just ridiculous. He's one of these high school superstars who it's really cool to see him on the stage. He's 17 and he looks like a mini Kevin Durant out there. And they have a really good team. And I feel like they kind of, Penny Hardaway attracts these kind of flashy players, but I think that, well, Durant and Bates are definitely flashy, but I think they're legit. And I think they could potentially make a run in March. And I know Banchero for Duke, there was a DWI. Yeah, that's a major storyline.
You know who was, I believe, responsible for that?
Coach K's grandson, right?
Yep.
And Banchero was probably favored to be the number 1 overall pick. He played today. Was that before or after?
I don't know the timetable on that. It was a story I saw earlier, and yes, he did play 26 minutes today. And Duke is one of those teams, they play so many games in the start of the season. I feel like they're already, I guess, 4 games right now isn't extreme amount, but Duke won, took down Gardner Webb in convincing fashion by 40. But yeah, a storyline to watch in terms of what develops with that. So not the best look for Duke or Coach K, but obviously you never want that to take place in terms of tough situation all around. But we've got the Charleston Classic is one that I've got my eye on. This tips off Thursday, and you got a mid-major showdown between my Boise State Broncos and St. Bonaventure to lead it off Thursday afternoon. So that's definitely something that I've got my eye on. And Marquette is also a member in this. So we'll see how the Charleston Classic plays out. Another one that you can look for is the Myrtle Beach Invitational. So we've got these. I wish college football this would be really impossible to do, but I love these type of showdowns. BC will be partaking in one this Saturday, this weekend, I should say. It begins Saturday with a matchup with Utah. But real quick with BC, we play at Rhode Island tomorrow, and in this weekend, where they're going down to Florida to play Utah, and then they play the winner of Tulsa or Rhode Island, or if they lose, they'll play the loser of Tulsa or Rhode Island. So they could play Rhode Island twice in the span of less than a week. But is there anything since we've last talked to you, BC got 2 wins, Holy Cross, Fairfield, 2 games that we should win. Tomorrow night, we won't be favored. So what do you you got your eye on anything tomorrow? What do you want to see in terms of, will it be a disappointment if we lose to Rhode Island? Rhode Island's not great. I'd say they're middle of the pack, A10 to upper tier, but still not great. Lost Fats Russell, their best player. So what do you kind of got your eye on tomorrow in Kingston, and then future this weekend, maybe a prediction against Utah? Utah is not great either. I think that we could go 3-0 in these next 3 games.
Imagine starting the season off 6-0. That'd be pretty cool. I think it's exciting to see a 3-0 start. I know our opponents have not been great, but DeMar Langford is legit. 17.5 points per game, shooting 63% from the field, which I'm sure won't hold up, but he looks really good, and he's really exciting to watch. I like being able to have my eye on a key player. It kind of enriches the spectating experience. And our former opponents were not really on our level, and I'd be interested to see how we match up against Rhode Island Rams tomorrow. But I think that's a potential win, and that could build some great momentum for the new Eagles, which is kind of comprised of a bunch of journeymen and our new coach who seems like he's doing a good job so far.
Mm-hmm. This right now on KenPom is projected as a 6-point loss. And then the Utah game is projected as a 5-point loss. So 2 games that are winnable. BC started the year, I believe, in the 140s on KenPom, one of the worst. We talked about it. It was the worst in the ACC. I think they were a spot behind Pitt at the time, and then Pitt obviously lost opening night. And now we're up to 129. So climbing the ladder a little bit, still in the bottom 5 of Power 5 teams, I believe. But you get a win at Rhode Island, who is 92 on KenPom. They're 2-0. They defeated BU and Bryant. They defeated them last week. So good game coming up. Should be. I think we'll find out a lot about how this team will be.
I agree. I think it's a defining game against not a double-digit. We're not a double-digit favorite anymore. So we'll see how we face adversity here, and I'm looking forward to seeing the result. I know you'll be at the game. Unfortunately, I can't join you. I have loads of exams and projects coming up, but I'm there in spirit.
Yeah, I will be taking. BC is offering a student bus down to Kingston. I believe it's an hour and a half, hour 45 drive. And I was like, I do have work to do, and hopefully I can do my history readings and theology readings on the bus going down there. I'll probably just end up sleeping. That's the thing with these plane rides for football. I'm like, all right, I got this to read or whatever. I got this essay to start, and then the plane goes up and I fall asleep. Yep. So this weekend, actually, I was the most productive I've been on a road trip, which was needed. So get a little momentum going into this bus trip. I don't know what type of bus. Maybe it's a it'll maybe remind me of my old high school days, playing days. You take that safe passage. Safe passage. I don't know if you guys use that.
I don't think we do.
Maybe that's just my high school thing, but you get in the bus. I always liked. What do you think the best ideal bus ride is? I'd say 30 minutes, 35, because you could get a slight nap in, and then you wake up just in time. I'm gonna extend it to 40, actually.
I'm gonna go 50.
Yeah.
I think that 30 is too short to
Yeah,
settle
I
in.
agree. I agree. Now that I think about it, I'd say 40, 45, because you get on and you're like, all right, I can decompress a little after school. I can rest my eyes a little bit. And then you wake up. I'm not a big like rap, big time pump up. Like I'd listen to country music on the way to football games. I believe to get me in the shout out to Eric Church. Springsteen would always get me in the zone. I was ready to hit some guys. No, I got most of I never really delivered any blows from the slot receiver position, but still, yeah, I'd say 45 minutes. So this is about an hour more than that, but I'm not getting ready to play. So it's different for me.
Yeah, now country works. You don't need that competitive mentality.
Exactly. I'm not trying to get in a verbal or physical altercation with anyone from Rhode Island. They've got some great people. My dad's from Rhode Island, so he didn't go to UR. He actually went here, but he didn't grow up in Kingston. But I'm sure it was close to Coventry where he grew up, considering it's Rhode Island. It's not a large state. So going back to my pop's homeland in a way tomorrow, which will be fun. So I think that's college football, college basketball, NFL, NBA, real quick. I guess we can touch on Warriors tonight. Blew out the Nets.
I didn't even see. That's just I've been so locked in.
Has. I'll say this for him because he's not going to brag, but he was locked in. He mentioned being locked in on homework. Shout out to him because he does service on Wednesdays. So they're evidence that he's just a good guy overall, doing service for the community.
Thank you.
And he said, I won't have time tomorrow to do my homework. So he's working ahead, being a diligent student. So that's what we are here at Boston's College, where we pay to go here. We don't get paid to participate and take class. I didn't come here to do anything but take class. And shout out to Lou for grinding. And hopefully this provided you a nice mental break. I've got some Espanol to look at. If I'm being honest, I should review the vocab one more time before I go to bed tomorrow. I got an in-class writing, so I got to do that. But
good luck to you on that one.
Thank you, and best of luck. You said 4,000 word essay.
Yep.
And then you had a group project, 10 to 12 pages.
Yep. And exam on Thursday. It's going to be a long night the next night, but it makes my heart sing that the Warriors blew out the Nets. I love to see the Nets lose. Steph Curry put up a near 40 bomb, and my next one last night, which I also could not watch, but that feels good. A big game tomorrow against the Magic, which we better win that or I'll be upset.
You deserve a win.
Yeah, I need that. But as always, Dom, pleasure. I wrote down our picks, so we'll go over that next week. And
perfect.
For our listeners, we're going to keep a tally, a season-long tally, and a little friendly competition. We might need to decide on a little reward. Maybe we can get some listener input.
Yeah.
And hopefully BC comes out with a win against Rhode Island tomorrow. And that's it for me.
Yeah. Very good. Thank you all for tuning in. Fun episode as always. And by this time next week, we'll be done with classes and on to Thanksgiving. So just head down, grind for one more week, and talk to you guys soon. Thank you.